This is From the Basement. It's the only blockchain podcast that interviews those forgotten and downtrodden developers who actually do the hard work. And I, Martin G, am your host. And in this episode, I'm very pleased to be talking to Alessandro Baffa, who works in Japan for SBIR3 as a solutions architect, assisting their clients to develop Corda solutions. Hi, Alessandro.
Hi, Martin.
Hey. Now, Alessandro, you're the first person I've interviewed on this podcast that I haven't actually already known for years and years. So I'm really looking forward to going through these 20 questions with you. Okay, let's make a start. What company do you work for?
I work for SBIR3 Japan, which is a joint venture between SBI Holdings and R3.
Great. And what do you do for them?
I'm a software engineer and a solution architect, Corda solution architect.
Okay. How old were you when you started programming?
I was 20 years old.
20 years old. That's quite late, isn't it, for a programmer?
It's a bit late, yes. I started when I was at university, basically.
Have you got a nickname?
Ale Baffa, which is my Twitter handler.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Italy, and I lived there until graduation, and then I moved to France for 8 years, and then I came here to Japan 3 years ago.
And which part of Italy did you grow up in?
I'm from north of Italy, close to Milan, Como Lake.
Lake Como?
Lake Como, yes.
Oh, okay. Where did you go to uni and what did you study?
I studied computer science at Politecnico di Milano, which is a technical university in Italy, north of Italy.
Now, that's not just any university, is it, Alessandro? I think isn't that one of the best universities, or the best university to study computer science at?
In Italy, for sure, is the best. In the rankings in Europe is like one of the best. And in the world, actually, is also very well placed. So well that I got like a special visa in Japan, which is nice.
Oh, really? There you go. Okay. When did you start working in software?
In software, I started working 12 years ago when I was in Italy. Yeah. Actually, before that, because, it started in Italy, but before graduation, because then I started to collaborate with the professor and they had a startup. And so I started to work with them.
Which industry have you spent most of your career in?
Most of my career was spent in the travel industry because I spent 8 years in France and working for a very big technology provider for the travel industry. Basically, when you do like a flight ticket, you pass through the back end of this company that nobody knows, but it's very big and it's like fundamental company for traveling. Now
that's Amadeus.
Amadeus, yes.
And they're a big C++ shop, aren't they?
Yes, they have a lot of it. And I worked also in C.
Oh, really?
It was not a super happy moment of my life. Yeah, but I learned a lot, mostly debugging, yes.
Well, I mean, and Amadeus culturally is famous for its the snobbishness of the managers. You know, I believe you can only become a manager if you went to one of the Grand École.
Well, in France it works like this. So they put a lot of importance on the graduation that you have and where you're coming from. So the university you're coming from. So it's not a company specifically, but it's like France in general.
So did you fit in there with your?
I fit in very well. Yeah, I mean, Politecnico in Milano was awesome. I had a lot of doors open thanks to that.
Fantastic. What what's your operating system of choice?
Windows, because I work with that, and so I spent most of the time with that. But when I was in one of my previous companies, I also was using MacBook, which is way nicer for developing software. But now actually Windows is pretty good also. So, I mean, Windows now is not as bad as it was before as a software engineer. So Windows now is a pretty good choice.
Okay. What's your programming language of choice?
Java.
Okay. What was the last time you wrote some code, and what did it do?
Today, because I'm playing around with the Corda network management. I was setting up like a private network with Corda, and I tried to develop like a small Corda app to see if it was working, and it was working. So I was pretty happy. I did it in Java. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
What's your favorite music to listen to whilst you code?
Ooh, this is a nice question. It's pretty strange actually. So I don't like this type of music, but I have to admit that when I program, it really works for me. It's like electronic music.
Really?
We know lyrics at all.
Oh, yeah?
Like something that I like in general, but yeah.
Give us an
when
example.
I program, it's like I don't know the names. I just go to Spotify and put some type of music in general, and there is actually a very good website, which is called musicforprogramming.net.
Right.
If I'm not wrong. And it's a very basic website, HTML website with a list of MP3 that you can listen for free. And they are like music that keep you focused like crazy when you program.
No way.
I really suggest it. It's awesome.
Well, there you go. You heard it here first.
Musicforprogramming.net.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's nice.
Name one skill that all programmers should have.
One
skill that all programmers should have.
Testing. So being able to write tests first.
Okay.
And this is something that's very important.
Okay. Is Agile a force for good or bad?
It's good, is well implemented. It's good if it is well implemented. Yeah, but then I saw a lot of cases where it was not really well done, and it can cause a lot of troubles. But actually, there are two parts, right, of Agile. So when I was working in Amadeus, for example, I was really focused on software craftsmanship, which is the technical side of Agile, right? Because people very often they forget the technical side when they speak about Agile. They are more focused on management, while the other side is very important, it's fundamental. So, yeah.
Okay. Do you or have you ever owned any Bitcoin?
I don't. Never.
Okay.
I have Ethereum, but just because I'm experimenting with some stuff, I need Ethereum to use it because I want to use it. I don't want to keep it for stocking. I don't like it.
So how long have you been using Corda for?
Now 4 months. So I'm pretty new. I'm a newbie.
Okay, so what got you into Corda in the first place then? Did you know Corda before you joined SBI R3?
So I didn't know Corda before, actually. When I joined the company, I started to do all my investigation, and I discovered it, and I liked it. I liked also the community around and all the material around. I mean, all the work that the guys are doing to promote the technology, and I liked it. And so then I decided to join this company here.
Okay. What would you say is the best thing about Corda?
There are many good things, actually. The thing that I like the most, which is also technically complicated, but it's very, very powerful, is the flow framework. And because, I mean, technically it's interesting how it works. And also it's like a natural choice. Like it makes it very natural to program a workflow between parties, which is nice. So that is very powerful. It's becoming more and more important, of course. So there are a lot of tools coming out in all the last release of Corda. And that is the thing that I like the most.
Okay. What about the thing that you like the least? What's the worst thing about Corda?
The worst thing.
Remember, you work for R3 SBI when you answer this question.
Yeah.
Come on. What do you think? Come on. Be open with us. What is the worst thing about Corda?
The worst thing about Corda, I don't know actually. God. It's a difficult question. Yeah.
All right, fine. I won't force you to incriminate yourself on this podcast. What's your favourite Corda open source library?
The open source library that I like the most, the Token SDK, which is very fun. Yeah. Very fun. Yeah.
What's the best place to start learning Corda?
There are many places. The best place, the first place, is the documentation. So there is training.corda.net, which is the best really entry point. But not only because it's technically gives you like a guidance of how to use it and how to bootstrap like a node, a network, how to use the states and the token SDK, but also because it gives you some background of the choices that the guys made when they created Corda and why Corda was born at the beginning. So in that website, you can find a lot of things. Then another thing which is very useful is the community on Slack. If you take a look to all the questions that people make, you can learn a lot of things from the answers. It's another very good resource for learning.
Yeah, the Corda Slack channel's always been a great place for learning, and it's not just the DevRel team or whoever's on support that week that you see there either. You can often see some of the top guys, some top engineers from R3 on there answering questions and getting engaged with whatever with whatever people are struggling with at the time. So I'm keen to find out all about Corda in Japan. Let's start off and ask you, what's the size of the Corda scene in Japan?
Corda here in Japan, the attention to Corda, I think, started like 2 years ago. Less than 2 years ago, because this joint venture between SBI Holdings and R3 to promote Corda in Japan started like last year. So they are promoting Corda here in Japan since very short time. But there is a lot of interest. So my company, for example, they organize regularly some boot camps. Now they are all online because of COVID-19, but they have a meetup like you have, like the Corda Club. And they organize one here in Japan. And but every time there were like around 100 people, 100 developers, Japanese developers.
What, the meetups or the boot camps? Or are they the same thing?
Is the same. So they were organizing meetups and meetups, like they were doing some presentation, and then there was like a demo, and but there were like every time I think around 100 of Japanese developers. So and I mean, there's a lot of interest.
And have you got a sense of why they're going? Are they going because of an interest in a new technology, or are they going because they see a commercial like a career value or a commercial value to learning more about Corda?
Also about Corda, but the thing is the attention to blockchain here in Japan is growing a lot. So there are a lot of new startups focusing on blockchain. The government is doing a lot of things for blockchain. There are a lot of associations, or basically all the big companies, mostly in the financial sector, but not only actually, they are doing a lot of work now in blockchain. So I think that as a developer here in Japan, most of the people are seeing this trend going on here, and so they are interested to all the new technologies. So Corda is one of them.
Okay, cool. And what about and with all that interest, does any of that play into like the open source scene? I mean, is there an open source scene in Japan in general? Never mind just Corda, but what about, do you see an open source scene in Japan?
Yeah, not much. So not much. There are some, there is of course open source and people work in open source, but open source is not really actually something that historically Japan was super active. There are many good developers, extremely good developers here working in open source. But compared to other countries, big countries, like the same size of Japan, also economically speaking, Japan is actually not one of those countries where a lot of people work on open source.
That's really interesting, actually, because I was looking at GitHub just before we did this, and I was looking for like an open source Corda project that was coming out of Japan, and to be honest, I could only actually find one, which was a Cordage project, which seems to be some kind of interoperability tool. So not exactly a straight back Corda app. Does that make any sense to you? Why the only open source Corda project coming out of Japan is not even a Corda app? It's a Corda-based interoperability tool?
I think the thing here is that there are a lot of companies interested to blockchain in general, so they experiment a lot of things. And this project maybe is born because of this, because people are experimenting with a lot of things. And at some point, if you have to switch or communicate from one project to another, you need something in the middle.
Okay, cool.
Which is one of the characteristics of Japan also.
Cool.
Because it's the experiment with a lot of things. So before deciding to go with one technology in particular, they are very open to experiment with different technologies. And so I think that project fits very well in that.
That sounds like you're saying that there's an element of Japanese culture being risk adverse. Do you see that at all?
It is extremely risk adverse. Yes. Which is also maybe why also there is a lot of interest in Corda, and but we are working on different projects and following different customers. It's because Corda, it fits in all the topics about privacy and security. So from that perspective, Corda is very interesting for Japanese customers, Japanese in general. So
how does that work though? Because if Corda is cutting edge, very innovative technology, but that doesn't normally go hand in hand with a risk adverse approach.
From that perspective, yes. From the other one, the fact that the network is a closed network, a permission network, not closed, a permission network, when you know exactly who the other actors are in the network, and all the data which is not broadcasted to everybody, but you can keep like data for yourself. So yeah, it's a cutting edge technology, but it has some features that fits well with, this willing to experiment, but not to risk too much, right? So fit well with, you know, integration with what you have already, but you want to expose yourself to the new things, to the new technology and to innovation. And so Corda, I think, that fits well in that.
And then how does that play out with going into production? Does that mean that there's a lot of proof of concepts and a lot of trials in Japan,
yes,
but a reluctance to actually commit and go into production?
Yeah, in production, I think there is only one project, which is inside SBI Holdings, which is if I remember well, actually, Corda is now used in the forex trading platform owned by SBI Holdings. I think that is the only project in production at the moment with Corda in Japan, but there are many actually other ones in POC phase at the moment. One of that was in the news like a few weeks ago about the called S-Coin, basically a regional coin that can be, you know, some coins can be issued by the regional government and people can pay with that. And that was based in Corda and MoneyTap, which is a Ripple technology. But yeah, then there are many other ones in POC. The thing, you know, is that because it's a risk-averse culture, they spend a lot of time at the beginning. So POC phase in Japan are very long, can be extremely long. So because, you know, the thing is they want to try everything. They want to be sure 100% they know exactly what is going on in all the details. Yeah. So the POC at the beginning can be very long. The thing in Japan is that the beginning is always long, but then once they see the value, the benefits, and they make the decision to go with that in production, from the POC to production is extremely fast. Yeah. And this only software is like for everything.
Well, I suppose if you've
in Japan,
if you've tested the absolute, if you've tested the absolute, you know, what's it out of an application, then yeah. I mean, I guess you don't get too many bugs in production either.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The thing, it's also, you know, a very good learning experience for us working with that with customers like in Japan, because the POC are very long. They ask all the sort of questions, like everything. And so you are really forced to go really in depth with some very particular feature in Corda. And also for us is a very learning experience. It's a very good learning experience for, as software engineers. So, yeah.
Almost sounds the opposite of the Silicon Valley move fast and break things.
It's totally opposite. Yes.
Move slowly and don't break anything.
The thing, you know, is then, you know, everything is connected to culture at some point, because it's not only risk averse, but also the point of view of Japan, which is a little bit different from Western world in general, Europe and Japan. It's like, for example, before coming to this company, I was working in IoT, the Internet of Things. And there, while the debate, the topic, the discussion in Europe and in America is more like Industry 4.0. So industry connected and all the services from machines connected to the internet. Here, the discussion about IoT was Society 5.0, which is something being promoted by the government. If you go searching for Society 5.0, there is a website, government website. Yeah. And the blockchain in Japan, it fits also in this discussion, because the point of view of Japan is actually not experimenting technologies for, you know, automation and make money, but it's always the shift, the focus is on society. So that's also why the POC is long, because it's not only trying to understand the technology, but also then, okay, we understood the technology, but then what kind of services can we offer around this for the population, right? So that is why it's also long, and that is why here in Japan, you don't see a lot of startups making some bricks technologies, right? So they are like experimenting with many things, but then they think about the broader, wider point of view. So
implementations.
Yeah.
Effects.
Yes.
Results.
Society. Yeah. Because society here is like the first there is society, and then there is the person. So and you can see these like reflected in a lot of different aspects, technology, business, everything.
Wow.
It's fascinating. I mean, living here, you see, you learn how to have a relative point of view, because everything you learn before coming, it's becoming like you start to question about a lot of things that you were knowing before. So it's nice.
Wow, what a great endorsement of living and working in Japan, huh? Japan, the land that will make you question everything you thought you knew before. I think that's a great note to leave things on. Let's wrap it up here, shall we? That was fantastic. Really,
yes.
Yeah, a real eye-opener into Corda in Japan. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Martin. It was fun.
Brilliant. Thanks for listening. You can follow me on Twitter to catch future episodes, and all previous episodes can be found on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. This show was created by me, Martin G, produced by my very own Oompa Loompa, Oscar Bennett, and came to you all the way from the basement.